Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a quick video to kind of talk about the next assignment that we have coming up. Your next assignment is going to be a genre analysis essay, and this is not too dissimilar from the discourse community essay, except rather than talking about the discourse community itself and how it functions, we're going to talk about and we're going to analyze it as a genre. So, what kind of writing do we do inside of our discourse community? So, here's the assignment that I posted. You can download this as a PDF. But for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be working on a genre analysis. And so a genre analysis requires a researcher to collect artifacts, and we call anything that we collect an artifact. And so it could be a picture, it could be a movie, it could be a speech, it could be whatever. And so in this particular case, since this is a writing class, our artifact is going to be pieces of writing. And so from a particular genre, which will be your field of discipline or study, so what you're doing right now, whether that be criminal justice or childhood development and so on, to discover how the structure and workings of the genre exist. So your findings are going to be reported through a careful recording of commonalities that are found amongst all of the artifacts. These commonalities could be of style, how a piece of writing is formatted, what sort of language it uses, how it is accessed by readers, whether it be online, journals, podcasts, etc., memos, however the communication streams down in your field. The commonalities could also discuss the audience. How does the artifact address its audience? And what sort of voice does the writer employ? So this is your task. It's your task to take these ideas and apply them to your collection of artifacts and say, hey, how does this work? How do these ideas come together? So think of a genre with which your discipline communicates. So I'm not, of course, familiar with your guys' field, but perhaps there are research papers that are conducted, or there are magazines, or maybe there are PDFs with regulations or what have you, whatever kind of material you work with in your discipline. Collect about 7 to 9 of those. 9 would be fantastic. 7 is the minimum because you want a good sample. And then you will conduct a genre analysis. So you can refer to your notes. I have that in the prompt because I will also be giving you guys other PowerPoints in this unit because this is a particularly difficult unit to find resources on. So I will be creating videos for that. And think about how the genre is constructed and how the structure shows it to pass on information to its audience. So going back to composition, the ideas of ethos, pathos, and logos. And then towards the bottom here, you see like we see all of these requirements for it. That's fine. So the due date, this is going to be due during week 11, so that's the 5th through the 11th of November, and then you will have 1 week until it has to be turned in. The end of the following week, I guess I could say, from November 12th through the 18th. So just like any other paper that we've written, we're going to go through the same process with that. Okay, so by now, you should have already gone through and viewed the videos that I posted I posted in the folder. And so those videos show an idea that I had when I was a student at Sac State and undergoing a genre analysis research project. And so my question, or I should say my genre was viral videos. I made that my genre. And my question is, what makes a video go viral? So you have some videos that get millions of views in a short amount of time, and indeed you have others that don't do much at all. And so I wanted to discover from the viral videos what they all had in common. And that's what we do in a genre analysis. We look for the commonalities and say, how are they working in a particular way? And so as you can see from the screen, I've highlighted column A right here. And if you scroll down, you'll find I looked at 50 videos. My goal for a sample was initially to look at 100 videos, and I did it over spring break. But as I was going through it, I realized that that was pretty ambitious for the time that I had, and so I just left it at 50 videos. But even at 50 videos, I think that it was still pretty successful. So if you look at the number of hits they had collectively, this was back in 2013, so it's probably more hits by now, but they are about 2.5 billion views just from these 50 videos alone. I use the medium of YouTube because at the time it was where most videos were posted. Other social media sites hadn't been quite into video capture at the time, so I used them because they were the best source. And I would search through the comments because you're allowed to leave comments on videos. And that's where I would discern certain kinds of data, right? So like what kind of emotions is this video projecting, like from the comments that people left, and what did people like about it? And so I started out with the idea of an archetype. So if we move over to column C, I just wanted to see, was there a particular archetype that these videos favored or not? And so an archetype, for those of you that don't know, is this image of something that we gain from the world around us. So the image that society puts in our mind. So for example, if I was to say Wicked Witch, you would probably get an image in your mind of something Halloweenish, something that we see around Halloween. So maybe it's a witch with green skin and warts, wears a black cap and a robe, has a broom and a cauldron, or maybe depending upon how young you are, Harry Potter-ish, so maybe Hogwarts type of thing, you know. But either way, you're not thinking back to the witch, the Salem witch trial, which is probably a woman, maybe young, maybe single, maybe she spends time in the forest, or maybe she grows herbs, maybe she's just kind of antisocial, doesn't go to church. That was probably the image that people during the Salem witch trials had of what a witch would look like. It's drastically different from our own. So that's what an archetype is. So an archetype is the image that people or society around you puts in your mind and what you expect. And so in the first video here, we see the one, oh, Charlie bit my finger again, which is just, you know, people loved like the idea of children playing. And so when they saw children playing, you know, this puts in their mind the archetype of happy children playing. So I found that archetypes did two things. They either worked with what the children were doing, or with what the people were viewing, or worked against. For example, where is it? There's one called, I think it's Dancing Grandma. Well, I don't see it, but you know, it showed a grandma dancing to a song that was from the 50s, and you know, she was just getting into it, and at the end she just said, I fucking love that song. And so it was the idea of going against the archetype, the cookie baking grandmother, which she really did look like, and then all of a sudden just throws out a bad word and laughs. And you know, people loved it because you wouldn't have thought that she would say such a thing, but she did. And so it worked against the archetype of the typical sweet grandmother that people expected her to be, and showed no, she's got some spunk. You know, she's got a little bit of sailor in her, and so she went against that archetype. And then I focused on the idea of emotion here in column E. You know, was there really any emotion involved? And if so, what was it? And so I kind of divided up into type. Again, this is going from what I observed and also from what I saw from the comments below. And I saw there was kind of happy, like in a funny way, an amusing way, maybe a satire. Satire seems to be a little bit towards the negative. A sense of justice or injustice, the kind of fun that's terrifying. If you look right there, like, you know, like let's go bungee jumping type thing, something that's scary but still fun, and so on. And so I was able to classify the videos. 17 I thought were happy, 12 were amusing, 4 were funny, 3 were the kind of terrifying fun, 3 had mild emotion, either negative or positive, and 6 were the amusing satire, 3 were funny satire. And so I would say that overall 36 of the videos were positive emotions, 3 were mild, 9 were negative, and 2 were emotionless is what I would say. They were just basically instructional videos. So I was happy with this number here, because the 36, because it really meant that viral videos need to project a positive emotion rather than a negative emotion. So that made me feel a little bit better about society, I guess. And then, like, I wanted to see, well, which ones involved a stunt, you know, because oftentimes there's something done, such as bungee jumping off a cliff or something like that. 32 of them involved stunts. And then spontaneous. How many of them were just captured at the moment, and how many of them were prepped? Like, we're going to go out and make a video today, versus the others of like, we're going to go and, you know, I just have my phone in my pocket and I took this video. I found that 17 were spontaneous, so that meant that most videos, according to my sample, had been prepared and planned. Which ones involved music? Some of them included music. About half, actually. Only half included music. And then the purpose. What was the purpose of it? And so to entertain, to display information, to make fun, a monologue, to share an event, etc., to educate, you know, those kinds of ideas. I found that 34 of them were just for pure entertainment. 5 of them were kind of to share an event that just happened to go viral because people loved the video. 2 were monologues, 3 were to display something, 3 were to educate, and 3 were to brutally make fun of someone or a particular situation, which kind of ties in with these guys over here, the negative satire. And so I collected my data, and I figured out what all of this meant. And then I wrote an analysis about it. So a genre analysis of viral videos back in May of 2013. So this is probably not my best writing, but I talked about these ideas. And so the purpose of a genre analysis is to take what you find and present it in a paper. So basically, this is kind of an instruction book. Like, if I wanted to say, what do I need to make a viral video? I could look to this paper and say, well, according to my analysis, this is what you would need to make a viral video. You know, I've looked at the most common things that they have, and I'm going to take, I'm going to take particular examples from particular videos which I feel is representative of the sample, and I'm going to discuss them. And so I do that after I get past the introduction. I start with the idea of archetypes, and then I kind of, oh, there it is, Dancing Nana, right? So I used her as an example because I felt like that was representative of going against an archetype. And so you would want to do the same thing in your paper. For example, whatever your genre is, you want to talk about the qualities of your genre. Pick out some representative examples and say, this is how this genre operates, this is how it works, these are the kinds of things it does, etc. So I will put this paper up for you guys to read. Again, it's pretty lengthy because it was kind of a term paper. Perhaps not my best writing because I was still an undergraduate at the time and I hadn't gone through as much rigorous writing as I have at this point in my life. But I think it's a good idea to just kind of get your feet wet with the notion of what a genre analysis is. And next week we will get more in depth into looking at genre analysis in terms of writing, right? In terms of like how we look for qualities of formatting and so on, and language use and all of that. Because this genre analysis doesn't look at the idea of it doesn't look at the idea of a genre analysis through written documents like I'm asking you guys to do. It's just kind of giving you a notion of what a genre analysis is. So we will go ahead and do that next time. So this week the focus is just to understand and kind of get comfortable with the notion of a genre analysis. Next week we'll get more particular about the sort of genre analysis that I expect to be written in this class.